What's up? I'm back. This segment, I'm going to talk about men's mental health. And in this one, is really more. I saw a video on YouTube, which is a pretty good video. In the video, the gentleman was saying that why the women are able to have sisterhood, men are not. So he's basically saying when a man gets married, he forgets his friends. But usually, women, even when they get married, they don't really forget their friends for the most part, right? So women have this type of sisterhood, and many other people have spoke about this before. Some men have even gone, have even felt this. Sometimes, let's say I've known guys, for instance, personally, that let's say their girlfriend cheats on them, then their own mothers or sisters would kind of take the girl's side, or they'll kind of not be as outraged as if it was the roles were reversed. Maybe if their son or their brother was cheating on their wife, it would have been a big outrage. And sometimes men, well, I shouldn't say men. Certain men who start to look at it and start to question things. Because I even had another guy who sent a video to me, and it was about a host saying that no one cares about the everyday man's problems. If you look at society, and he was really talking about Western society. He didn't say it in the video, but obviously he's talking about America. He says no one really cares about the average man's problems. The funny thing is, all these things are true. It's not like I'm not gonna make this video saying it's not true. I'm not gonna make this video saying that there is some truth to the fact that people don't really see the world for how it really is. Like there's been other people who have documented where they said, listen, feminists will try to equate feminism with the civil rights movement, right? In terms of, they would say, well, minorities are oppressed, women are oppressed like minorities. I would say this, right? And the other people will counter and say, well, if you look at, when you say someone's oppressed, right, usually the oppressed groups they don't live as long as the oppressors, right? So if you're being oppressed, you're gonna die a lot quicker. You're gonna probably have higher rates of incarceration. You're probably gonna have higher rates of, you're not gonna be educated. Like the education is gonna be a disparity in education. So when you look at minorities, let's say in America, minorities versus whites, you see that obviously. All the whites might live longer, might have a higher rate of education, might have less, they wouldn't be as incarcerated as much. So that fits. Then the same people will say, well, if you take women, it doesn't fit, right? Some people will say, well, women in America, we talk about in America and Europe, Western Europe for the most part, women live a lot longer. Even though men make more money in Western Europe and America, if you look at it in terms of, well, how would I describe it? I guess you could look at it as the consumer spending power. Meaning it's not just I make 80,000, my wife makes 60,000. How is the bills distributed? Is the man making 80,000 and then giving his wife most of the money, which happens a lot. This is why in a capital-based society, most companies push their product towards women because that's who it really has the spending power. So when you look at it from that perspective, women in Western Europe and America might even have the edge when it comes to money. So, and they live a lot, obviously they live a lot longer. And when it comes to college education, it's about even right at this point. So when you look at it, some in the civil rights movements might be a little angry when those comparisons are made. And I would have to say they're correct on some angle, for sure. No question. Minorities, no question. I don't think you could really compare the two. But I do think sometimes people do get in the habit of kind of like throwing out one person's movement or degrading one person's movement. Like if I say I'm about animal rights, I'm going to have some people come in and say, well, what about the rights of the people in the hood? What about the rights of people in low-income neighborhoods? They don't understand one movement or one cause doesn't have to take away from the other cause. I think sometimes people get too much into that. And however you want to spin it, there's still no question that when you take it globally, forget about, because see, I'm not one of those people, in my Cyrus King channel, I just made a video, think globally, act locally, right? That's how I am. So I'm not really one of those people who just, when I talk, I'm talking for America. That's not my style. If you talk about globally, then yes, women are still being oppressed. No question about it. And I would say there's no question that as long as women are being oppressed, the civilization will not flourish the way it's supposed to. Women are the ones who are the carriers of karma for the society. I'm not talking about individual based karma. I'm talking about for karma based on society, right? Cultural karma. So if you suppress your woman, your culture will not flourish the way it's supposed to. So yes, in general, worldwide, women are not, they're oppressed. There's no question. And I would have to say, even in the Western Europe, Western Europe and America, even the fact that so many women, if a woman says she's a stay-at-home woman and she's taking care of kids, she gets less respect than a woman who's working for a corporation. That's a direct attack on feminism as well, because the stay-at-home mom is actually more important. I always tell people this, just like teachers. Teachers should be supposed to be paid as much as doctors and lawyers. The fact that they're not, that's why we have a problem. So when I say this, I want to get all that stuff out the way first. But I do want to address the issue coming from the male aspect of the fact that, yeah, in general, women would exhibit more sisterhood than men. But again, that's still coming from a limited perception, because if you look at it, that is how it was designed in nature. See, too many people, when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to health, they present the human body just like they present society. And most people don't really realize the human body is a seed, right? The natural body that you're born with is not supposed to be the body that you end up with. What I mean by that is, when your consciousness transforms, your body transforms. And when I say consciousness, I don't mean just accumulating random information to sound deep. I mean understanding how your imagination works, understanding how the pictures you put in your head manifest, understanding the subconscious mind versus the conscious mind, trying to integrate both of them together, trying to understand that just like how you could see, you could taste, you could feel, still more based in your conscious mind, your subconscious mind has counterparts that can see, that can taste, that can feel. When you see people talking about all this third eye nonsense, right? That's a vision of the subconscious mind merging with the vision of the conscious mind, which will transform your conscious on all levels. So what does that mean? Well, it means instead of trying to chase deep information, you're supposed to transform your body, transform your mind with, like how yogis do it. The yogi comes in, learns to meditate, learns to concentrate. People use the tarot, learn to put pictures in your mind, and understanding how being able to understand colors and pictures, right? They affect your consciousness, which then affects your body. Until you do that, you what's considered the natural man. And when I say natural man, I'm talking about women too. You're the natural human. What does that mean? The natural human just looks human. The natural human is still more animal. So any behavior that the natural human does is not the final result. Meaning, I'm not supposed to say, well, naturally, society says, oh, polygamy is cool because naturally I'm supposed to do that. That's the difference. The transformed human or the spiritual human understands that the natural, human or natural mankind is just the beginning. You're supposed to transform from that state. That's the difference, because realistically, because somebody will hit it and say, well, what are you saying? You're supposed to be unnatural? Say no. When people talk about, this stuff like the fall or people being in ignorance, it just means the fact that the average person is not aware how the mind, the energy, and when I say energy, I'm talking about spirit, how mind, energy or spirit, and matter all come together. So when we look at the world, we look at them, because the Western world is a dominant world, we look at them we have to separate them. We don't understand how they integrate into one. So when you're looking at nature, woman is dominant. There's no question. If you talk about the natural human being, when you're born, naturally, women are the dominant species, naturally. What I mean by that is, women could take more pain, 20 times more pain than, I think 10 times for a fact, but some people say 20 times more pain than the male body. If males had to become pregnant, they will die, right? We can't take the pain. Even though men get this cocky vibe where they say they're more intelligent, woman intelligence operates differently, and woman's intelligence almost gets passed on from woman to woman. So a woman may not be taught how to hold a baby. She has a baby, all of a sudden she knows how to hold it, where the male would have to be taught. Right, literally the male will literally have to be taught for a while how to hold a baby. Women have this kind of like divine knowledge that gets passed on from one woman to the next woman, because nature generally if you talk about it's naturally, the natural evolution of nature is to go towards the feminine side, right? That's how it is when I say natural, how you're born, right? If you naturally let it evolve without using conscious mental power, it would evolve on a certain way. So when you're looking at it, nature itself doesn't really care about the male mind. I mean the male, honestly. Sounds messed up, but the male in nature is just a sperm donor. Straight up. So I know a lot of people may not like it. That's the way it is. And if you look at most animal species, shoot, there's some species of insect animals, insects and animals. When they reproduce, sometimes the woman kills the male. To be honest, because all she needs is just him to reproduce, and then she's done with him. So some people will hear this and get into feminine supremacy. I don't get into masculine supremacy. I don't get into feminine supremacy. At the end of the day, the reason why males might feel neglected or males might feel like no one's addressing their problems or no one cares about their problems is because the male doesn't really know himself. At the end of the day, the male. I saw one time. This was on Facebook where I saw someone say they had a picture of a car. I don't remember the car it was. It was a sports car, and the quote said, "If you're," I guess this was geared towards women, right? So they said, if your boyfriend doesn't like this car, he's not a man. Basically talking about, real men drive certain cars. And I think a lot of times people really don't really realize that as a society, no one is really taught manhood. I think what people are missing sometimes is when a woman is born, right? When you have a girl child, her mom, her grandmother teaches her certain principles about womanhood that she can use in her life. When you look at males, if the father is even there, right, that's number one. If he is there, a lot of males don't really teach other males what they can use in life. Where in indigenous cultures, specifically in Africa and Australia, in Africa and Australia, the men in the village will take the kid of age and teach him, right? Take him outside the village in an isolated place and teach him. That doesn't exist anymore. I mean, even if you look at a lot of our sports, right? Sports is sometimes competition. It's part of being masculine. There's nothing wrong with that. If we look at our sports, we call sports, we're not really into combat sports too much, to be honest. MMA is too bloody for most people, to be honest. We like sports that, I shoot a ball in the hoop. I'm 6'4", 6'5". I'm not really tough. I'm not really masculine. I don't really know about, because, from at the end of the day, masculinity, this is what people miss. The highest level of masculinity is intellect. To be honest, that same nerd you're making fun of, that same geek you're making fun of, on one level, that is the highest form of masculinity. This is how everything is messed up. So many people think it's cool to be dumb. Right? You're dumb is cool, right? And we think having money and cars is masculinity. Guess what? Money and cars is more under Venus. That's more feminine. Now, it doesn't mean that the man is not supposed to be a provider, because that is masculinity. The man is the provider. So it's not so much of it's wrong to like money, but it's how you like money. Do you like independence? Are you into power, which is a form of protection for your tribe? Or you're just into mindless consumerism? Our whole concept of masculinity is off, to be honest. And naturally, nature wouldn't even care if you were on point, right? So when you're not even on point, nature doesn't care about you. So if nature doesn't care about you, you can damn well believe society doesn't care about you either, because the ruling power of society is males, but they don't tend to be heterosexual males on the highest level. So they're not going to care about heterosexual masculinity. And this is not even anything anti-gay. I'm just keeping it real. So when you look at it from a certain angle, yes, it's true. Men are not into brotherhood, but you have to understand that's how it naturally is. The key is not to become a natural man, but become a spiritual man. And when I say a spiritual man, I'm not talking about some space cadet stuff where you don't really know what the natural world is, or know your connection to nature, the natural world. The spiritual man and the spiritual woman is able to, with nature's assistance, which means integrating themselves fully into nature, transforming themselves into something else, into something better. This is why the yogis say, the same body you have when you begin doing yoga is not the same body you have when you finish doing yoga. There's a reason why they say that, because the yoga, after many years, transforms you into something else. Then when you're transformed, then you get the sacred information. So when the people are chasing chakras and third eye and astral projection, they're natural men, natural women doing it. That's why they run into problems, and that's why it feels like space kid that stuff. That's why when a regular person looks at it, they can't get down with it, because you can look at the people who are into those topics and you can tell that they're a little imbalanced. And it's not looking down on them. It's just being real, because nobody else wants to be real with them. Nobody else wants to be real with them. People want to go on the internet and cater to them. Have 1,000 videos about opening your third eye and chakras when you don't even understand the sun, how it relates to you, how much water you should drink. You know, the importance of sulfur, the importance of health. You don't understand those simple topics and you want to go in space. So that's the thing. The thing is, the lion is the king of the jungle, right? When the lion's the king, if you look at the lion's pride, the pride is all woman. Masculinity in general, it doesn't really, you don't need the brotherhood the way you're thinking. Yes, the brotherhood concept does come in true masculinity, but true masculinity in the beginning is going to be heavy intellect. But then the secondary part of masculinity is heavy Mars, right? It's heavy, it's being able to Mars is being able to weld transformative power that you make your environment better. That could be defined as competition, as war, but that's just one part of Mars. Mars really is transformative power, to be honest. That's why Malcolm X said, men start revolutions, women build nations. Because, yeah, the man is going to be the one to build it, to start the revolution initially. It's Mars. It's transformative power. It understands when something is going on that shouldn't be going on, right? And when you deal with spiritual humanity, I don't mean, again, when I say spiritual humanity, I'm not talking about people who just want to run from the physical world. I'm not talking about you guys. When I'm talking about spiritual humanity, I'm talking about where humanity's supposed to be, right? Evolve when they take light, when they have the ability to cease thought, right? Which what they learn through via meditation. When they have the ability to make herbal formulas based on plants, or if you're really good, based on minerals and elixirs, like an alchemy. When you take those things and transform into something else, if that makes any sense. When you understand that when you look at science fiction, you look at X-Men and all you guys like that type of stuff. Stuff is real, but you ain't gonna be born like that. The natural man is not born great. The natural man and the natural woman make themselves great by an extensive amount of spiritual work over a certain period of time that transforms them into something else, where you could say the person is even beyond human. They may look human, right? They may look third dimensional. They may look like a third dimensional being. They may talk like a third dimensional being, but their perception is fourth dimensional. And their perception is fourth dimensional. They can catch a certain type of energy in their cell. They catch a certain type of energy in their cell. Their cells, their whole body is completely different. That's the difference. So men don't have to realize it's not really about the crying, to be honest. A lot of times, if it feels like society doesn't care about you, you gotta care about yourself first. You're supposed to be the one that transforms nature. Nature has been, not just nature really, society has been going in the dark path for a long time. So when you look at it, it's gonna be a shell of what it's supposed to be. So when you look at yourself, yeah, in a lot of ways at first, it may seem like that, because naturally, nature doesn't care about men outside of reproductive purposes. So that's why when a man says they're not going to be spiritual, it's much worse than a woman. But the worst part of it is when man takes pseudo-spirituality. And when I say pseudo-spirituality, I mean spirituality that deals with, here's a magic pill. Open up your chakras. Get my third eye on. Should I meditate? Should I levitate? Should I do my astral projection? That's pseudo-spirituality. Real spirituality at first doesn't even look like spirituality. It's psychology. It's understanding science. The most spiritual you might get is a little bit of shamanism, understanding how you integrate with nature. It's boring by your standards at first. It's boring, but when you transform, then you get the good stuff. That's the difference. So, are men, the women stick together more than men? Yeah, they do. Is that wrong? No, it's not. Does society care about men? Probably not. Doesn't care about poor men. Rich men, it does. Rich men run society. But poor men, poor middle class men, no, society doesn't care about you. Is that bad? It's like that because you refuse to be who you are. What I mean by that is, you want to be a natural man. You want to just wake up, do whatever you want, and you forget it was never like that. The same way how if you want to be smart, if you want to have a chiseled body, you got to work out, If you got to work out, you got to read books. Well, it's the same thing. If you want to be a spiritual man, right, you have to transform yourself. So when you try to get the spiritual information without understanding psychology, the mind, understanding yoga, how you fuse that mental energy with with your energetic body, right, and all your energetic bodies, astral body, and all the other energetic bodies, and then eventually you fuse it with the physical body, which is holistic health, spirogerics, a plant alchemy, Ayurvedic, TMC. Right? When you don't know how to integrate all those things together, you're going to always be the natural man. And the natural man is an endangered species if he doesn't have money. If he has money, he could live a little longer. If he doesn't have money, no, the natural man is an endangered species. So is that a bad thing? No, that's the way it's supposed to be. Because that's the way it's supposed to be, so that you transform it. You're supposed to look at the world, be displeased with it, and transform, become who you're supposed to be. Until next time, please.